Hey guys, how's it going? Miso here, back with another Epic 7 video, and today we are going to be talking about the very popular and controversial Holiday or Seaside Yufine. Now, there's been a lot of discussion going on online about whether or not she's good, whether or not she's bad, what role she plays, etc. And I'm here to give kind of my analysis of everything that's been going on, all the different thoughts about what she's going to be built for, and also what I think she's going to be built for. So, and whether or not she's good or not. So let's kind of jump in here and start by talking about kind of the different roles people say she's built for, right? So people say, there are various amount of things, right? Some people say she's absolute garbage. Some people say that she's going to kind of be like an ML Araminta burn type of character, right? Capitalize on the burns on her S1, do a ton of damage through that. Some people say that she's going to be kind of like used as like a Stunbot, right? Kind of like because of her exclusive, or not exclusive, but her artifact that makes so that you can stun people with her S1 basic attacks. Or, some people are just going to be saying like she's going to be like a Basar counter and cleanse. Well, let's kind of go over these different points and kind of talk about what I think about them. So, first one, garbage. I don't think she's going to be garbage. I think that she's going to be decent, right? I think that she's going to be, she's a limited unit. She has to be at least somewhat good. So there's that. Let's just debunk that at the beginning. I don't think she'll be garbage. She does too much to be garbage. She offers a lot to your team. And because of that, I don't think she can be garbage. In terms of being an ML Aura kind of like, burn type of unit, right? Using your burns, taking advantage of that and doing damage. I also don't think that you can really focus entirely on that. And let's kind of take a look at, ML Aura. People are kind of comparing her to ML Aura and saying like, well, ML Aura offers this kind of burn style of, play style, right? Do a bunch of burns and do a ton of damage over time. Well, I don't think this is going to be the play style. And here's my reasoning why. So if you look at MLR's kit, right, it's very different from Eufine's, obviously. They're different units, so they're going to be doing different things. And I think because of that, they're going to serve different purposes, and you're not really going to be able to build her like MLR, or they're not going to serve the same role, or I honestly don't even think that the burn path is the way to go. So if you haven't seen it already, Shotgun Shogun did a really good breakdown of why he doesn't think that Holiday Yufine is really going to be used as a main damage deal with the burns. The multipliers on her skills are very low, and you really need some super good stats for those burns to do a ton of damage. And it, is just not reasonable for most people, and also probably kind of doesn't really make sense to build her that way because she probably wouldn't even work that well. And here's why I don't think she'll work that well. You'd say that, people say that, so ML Aura works very well with this. And the reason why she works very well with burns is because of her kit. And her kit has something that's, majorly lacking in Holiday Yufine, to where I say that this is a completely non-viable route. So ML Aura, of course, first off, her S3, right? It does 2 stacks of burns. So that's huge. You have double the damage potential with her S3, for one. And on top of this is the most important reason why I don't think she could be Holiday Yufine can be played as a burn character, is because of the fact that ML Aura stuns and Yufine doesn't. Now you might say like, oh, well, you can put the artifact on her to stun, but it really isn't that reliable. It's like trying to rely on Abyssal Crown, right? You can do it, but it's going to be very inconsistent, which is why most people use it on like defense, for example. Or ML Aura. But yeah, so she drops the stun on everybody, right? It's a big AoE, drops a stun, 100% chance to stun, and she drops burns off of that. So one thing that prevents counters. So any unit with a counter is going to get stunned, or most likely going to be stunned, and protect your ML Aura and your team. Yufine doesn't have that. So what that opens up is, of course, counters, right? You have ML Ken, you have, Charles, you have different units that, with counter set, they can come in, counter you, and if you're going for a burn build, you're going to be fast, and you're going to be squishy. And you're going to probably get killed by 1 or 2 counters, unfortunately. So because of that, because she lacks a stun, a reliable stun on that S1, I really don't think that she's going to be used to be kind of the burn unit. Additionally, you know, not stunning units means that you're opening yourself up to being cleansed, right? Those burns, the unit has to take a turn for that damage to get through. And if, let's say they have a Lilius, right? Or even another Holiday Yufine on their team, and they don't get stunned by that 26%, I believe, on that artifact, maxed out, then they just cleanse all that and your entire turn's damage is gone. So I don't think that she's going to be built as a burn character for this reason. Araminta also is able to apply burns with her S2, which procs off her S1, and everything burns basically. So these, actually, does this apply burn? No, her S1 does. But, you know, because of all her skills basically, right? Every attacking skill applying burn, she's a much more reliable unit to use for burns. And additionally, you could even soul burn her S1 to make it 100% chance and ignore effective resistance. So that's the reason why I don't think she's going to be used as a burn character. She's just going to be either, you know, not landing her burns, or she's going to get countered, or units are going to be able to cleanse or put immunity because she's not going to be able to reliably stun. The stun factor is huge. It slows down their team to where your burns, which a lot of times might not even, probably aren't one-shotting units, right? They get time to take that damage but not be able to retaliate back because of that stun. So that's why I think Araminta works, right? Because she has this kit that makes, you know, herself and her team more safe. Eufine doesn't really have that, unfortunately. So that's why I don't, you know, that's why I don't think she's going to be used for burns. Moving on to the next one, Stunbot, right? So you say that her artifact's much like Abyssal Crown, where if you use it, it'll stun all the enemies and make it so that they can't attack. And she can keep doing that over and over with her S1, right? So it's an AoE every turn. Well, if that's the case, most of the time I'd rather just have like Dizzy on my team with Abyssal Crown. The Abyssal Crown proc chance is a little bit higher at max, and also Dizzy offers a different kit that I think is more useful, right? And I don't think that Holiday Yufine actually even works as a stun bot. And here's why. Think about all the stun bots in the game, right? All the units in the game that you rely on to stun consistently and are in the meta, right? And so that's mostly going to be Abyssal Crown users. Actually, let's just, you know, talk about Abyssal Crown users, because it's pretty much a one-to-one for her artifact and Abyssal Crown, except Abyssal Crown's a little better. So Abyssal Crown users, the ones that are in the meta, right? Who are they? Araminta again, Dizzy, Champ Zoro, you know, you could say maybe Sage Cezanne. He's not really being used, but he can be used that way if you want to use him. Also, sorry, I just hit the mic. Also, Dizzy. So, Dizzy, Elara, Champ Zoro, Araminta. They all have something very, very, you know, they all have something in common, which makes them viable Abyssal Crown users, viable stunners. And that is the ability to, one, help themselves survive, have something that helps themselves survive. Two, has the ability to kind of move out of turn or move quickly. So let's look at Elara again, right? Stun, of course, helps her survive, makes it so that, you know, it protects herself, protects her teammate. And her S2 gives her combat readiness, so it makes her move faster, right? And this procs every time she hits a burn target, which is pretty much every turn that she takes. So you might say that Holiday Yufine has the CR push on her S3, but that's on a 4-turn cooldown for 20%, which 20% is something Aura gets every turn. So because of that, you know, she's not moving very quickly. Next, let's look at Champ Zoro. He's able to sustain himself by, one, life stealing or healing proportional to his health when he attacks, but also giving himself defense buff and decreasing the attack of the enemy, which again will help your team survive. And he also has a counter, right? Which is that portion of, you know, I was talking about earlier about moving out of turn or being able to move quicker. Because he has this counter mechanic, he's able to proc that Abyssal Crown a lot more often. Oh yeah, and Speaking of that, over here, Emma Armintha, she does their S1 and a procs S2 due to a whole team Abyssal Crown. So there's that as well. So Champ Zerato, able to move out of line. Emma Armintha, able to proc this basically twice, right? Once on the target that she's targeting with her single target, and then the whole team. So there's that. And next, let's look at Dizzy, right? So Dizzy is another unit that is a Abyssal Crown stun bot unit. And let's not, you don't even have to, we don't have to go over this one really. S3 helps survivability with decreased speed, decreased attack, decreased hit chance. The decreased speed also allows her to get more turns, right? Because the enemy's moving slower, that means she is moving a lot faster compared to them and getting a lot more turns that way. She has a CR push to yet again get more turns. And then her S1, of course, you can use it every turn. All her moves are AoE, so she's going to be stunning very often. And her S1 also has a base stun chance as well to increase her chances of stunning on top of that Abyssal Crown. So that's the reason why it works for Dizzy. That's why she can be a stun bot, because she has this, yet again, the ability to make it so that enemies are CC'd and don't hurt you and your team as much, and your ability to move quickly, move out of turn, get a bunch of turns. And then lastly, you have Basar, right? Who's another Abyssal Crown holder. A lot of times you don't see him with Abyssal Crown because people don't want to swap it in and out with, their tag hells. But, when people don't do that, they use Abyssal Crown most likely. And yet again, he has something that makes it so that he gets more turns. So being able to push back and, being usually built really, really fast. He has survivability by decreasing hit chance and attack, and decreasing attack. So he has these abilities that make it so that he's able to make his team more survivable and, push people back so he gets more turns. Those are all key factors and the reasons why these units are viable Abyssal Crown holders and are in the meta using that artifact. Now, Seaside Yufine, Holiday Yufine doesn't have that. Yet again, her CR push is 20%, so very low. 2, it's only a 4-turn cooldown, so she's not going to be using it often, and she's not going to be pushing herself up very often. She does have that evasion, which helps her survive, but only for 1 turn. And oftentimes, if you're bringing her in for being like a Basar counter, right, or using her cleanse, you're not going to be using her that fast. But let's just say you're ignoring that completely, and just building her speed and attack for the burns, right? Well then, yes, yet again, it just ignores the first attack, and after that she's going to be taking full damage, unfortunately. So she doesn't have the ability to make herself more survivable, and she doesn't have the ability to make herself do more attacks or kind of move out of line or kind of make herself move faster than the enemies. She's really just kind of like a very fair character, let's just say. She plays by the rules, just kind of waits for her CR to go up. Maybe, once every 4 turns, if she survives, she can push herself up a little bit. But she can't really be like that. You can't count on her to be that stunner because of that. And of course, last one, the Basar counter / cleanse. If you're just using her for that, I think that's a huge waste. She doesn't have, she's not only that. And you have a unit in the meta, especially in the RTA meta, ML Tywin, who kind of does that with his S2 cleanse. But he does more, right? He stuns. He has a high chance to stun on his S3, slows the enemies, and also removes souls, which is way more valuable in RTA. So really, there are all these different, ways to build her, but so far from what I'm saying, right, there's really not one specific way to build her. She's not really like that type of unit that, you want to do one thing very well with. Because, to be honest, she doesn't really do anything very well. She kind of CR pushes. She does cleanse very well, yes. But if you want to use her cleanse, you really can't use her as a damage dealer. Or the burn damage dealer, right? Because in order to be like that burn damage dealer, you want to be really, really fast. You want to be 230, 240, kind of where you put like an MLR, right? But if you do that, then you might be going before a lot of those debuffs, and as a result, you can't use her cleanse to the maximum potential, right? So using her as that, just the cleanse, and countering Basar might not be the best. So what else? You know, she just kind of does everything a little bit, but doesn't do it all very well. Kind of the master of none, jack of all trades type of unit, right? For me, I think that she's going to be built like a bruiser that can kind of do some damage, but you don't expect her to be doing your main damage. But she can also be that Basar counter by offering her S3. So you kind of throw her in there when you see like a Basar or a unit that's going to be, I guess, debuffing a lot. Throw her in there, use her cleanse, but then also use her kind of as like a damage over time-ish character. You're not going to be one-shotting anybody, but you're just going to be pecking away at them. And it's for those teams that don't really have that much sustain, but also, and very importantly, don't have that counter unit, as I was mentioning before. That'll be able to counter you and just kill you or do a lot of damage to you. Which, if you're thinking about it, it really isn't all that many situations. So unfortunately for me, I'm thinking that Holiday Yufine might not be that great of a unit. She's definitely not going to be that Seaside Bologna where you can literally just slam her down first pick, or like an Arbiter Vildred, slam her down first pick, an RTA type of unit. I don't think she's going to be like that. I think she's kind of going to be like, you know, as I mentioned in a previous video, a counter unit. Like, you counter certain things, but you counter the Basar with it. And that's kind of her main role. But then also doing some damage over time, right? Which is, you know, yet again, not that much, and it really needs to be like a niche team where they have no units that can counter. Like, even, I didn't mention earlier, but Rylot, who's very popular in the meta right now. Every time you proc, if you're going to be going for that fast kind of damage over time build, like, you know, pecking them a little by little, he's going to get a lot of stacks on his S2, and he's going to counter and kill you. So I honestly don't know if she has a place in the meta right now. You'd much rather use an Elara or a Dizzy or an ML Tywin, especially an RTA. She's just a jack of all trades, master of none, and I don't think she's good enough at anything to be, you know, completely busted. You talk about units that are completely busted that do a lot of things, like, you know, Alencia. Defense buff, provide survivability to your team, strip with her S3, death breaker with S1. She does all those things very well. I don't think Seaside Yufine, Holiday Yufine really does any of the things that she does really, really well, which is why she can't be a busted unit. And as a result, I just don't think she's going to be that great of a unit. Of course, I really, really want her to be, right? She's a limited unit. She looks great. Her character design is great. The animations are great. She's a waifu. Like, I just really want her to do well. And I'm hoping that when she comes out, either somebody will find something, or, you know, there's something I've overlooked that makes it so that she's not bad. But as of now, she's just not good enough. I think, you know, the way I'd build her is going to be that bruiser unit that'll do a little bit of damage over time and then counter like debuffs and Basar. But, you know, other than that, I don't think there's any really other way to build her, and because of that, I'm probably not even going to pick her in most situations. I'd pick the superior option, right? The unit that does that thing very well. If you think about it, like I said, these things are kind of conflicting. You want her to be that cleanser. You can't make her do that too fast. If you make her too fast, then she might outspeed those debuff units. If you make her too slow, then she won't be able to turn cycle that quick. So she can't stun, or she can't land those burns. The greater attack buff will be useless if you don't build her attack, but the cleanse will be useless if you build her attack and speed. So it's just, there's a lot of conflicting elements here that don't synergize well together. So you can't build her for everything, which is why the fact that she's a jack of all trades really doesn't work that well either. I don't know. It is really, I don't know. Yet again, I want her to be good. I want her to be a good character. I want to use her, and I'm hoping that the game will prove me wrong, because I think that she could be an awesome unit. Let me know what you guys think. Do you think that she's going to be a good unit? Do you think that she's going to be garbage? Do you think that I'm missing something that, you know, I clearly am looking over, not seeing? Do you think that, you know, you're going to pull her? Do you think you're not going to pull her? I'd say just pull her because she's a limited unit and, you know, she's a waifu. But some of you might not. You might want to save your bookmarks for something else. I don't know. But yeah. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this. Leave a thumbs up if you did. Thumbs down if you didn't. Tell me why. Again, this is all my opinion. And don't dislike the video because you disagree with my opinion. But, you know, dislike the video if you really think, like, you know, I don't know, production's bad, or like I presented it badly. I don't know. And let me know that. Not just because you don't disagree with me. And yeah, if you enjoy my content, enjoy my insights, hopefully you give me a subscribe, because I'm very close to 1,000 and I'd love to get there. Hopefully you guys can help me out. Until next time, guys. See you later. Peace out.